In the USA, atheists are still a minority, though the numbers do climb all the time, with religious nuns now being the majority of folks in the United States. But nuns can still be religious. It's a minefield. But if you're out and about, would you be able to spot another atheist? I'm going to try. Hang around as we try and spot two secret atheists surrounded by pastors. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, and then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. Jubilee are a fascinating channel where they often put a secret someone amongst other folks, and they all work together to find the mole. But what if the secret person was an atheist? Would we, as dirty great non-believers, recognise others that also don't believe? I'm about to give it a try. Let me know how you get on too. But before we try and find the spy, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell, and maybe we secretly can convince the algorithm to work for all of us. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. New Pitbull, Condor Boss, Andrew Jones, Fred Harvey, Elgison, Dorelli, Type Up, William Horton and Elizabeth. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. Right, let's test my atheidar. Can I spot a couple of atheists in a group of pastors?
I'm a pastor.
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 In the original video, there's organ music playing to give it the ultimate churchy feel, and from these 7 folks, initial reaction is tall beard guy and yellow hat. Don't ask me why, I just feel like the lady and the dude with the goatee are there to show diversity in the pastor circuit. I love these videos. I watch them quite a bit. It's often find the secret white guy or the secret rich person, but I've seen a couple where it's atheists and believers, and I wondered how I'd do with one if I joined in, so I'm literally watching this for the first time as I write and respond.
So what about an introduction to start things off? My name is Jay. I'm an Episcopal priest.
I'm Don, pastor, non-denominational.
Dominic, Lutheran pastor.
Paul, youth pastor, SPC.
Paul wore a whole suit, and I was like, oh, maybe he's overcompensating. Like, I don't know what a pastor would wear on a Saturday. Maybe it's this suit.
So I'm Zach, former Calvary Chapel pastor, and now fully Calvary guy.
Whoa, yes!
Yeah, hence the tattoos and stuff.
I think my strategy is going to be this idea of like really trying to just hear the heart behind like why people are pastoring.
I'm not sure how I feel about the term pastoring. Isn't that just telling folks of things I'm convinced of and trying to convince them of the same? I know this is a game, but really, true things still matter, right?
Daniel, also youth pastor, non-denominational.
I'm Anna, largely non-denominational, kind of all over the place over the years.
I mean, I have a question, like education. So
Sure.
Seminary, maybe degrees, I don't know.
Seminary, theological studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where at?
King's College as well as Oxford University.
Okay. Was that like an MA or was it an MDiv or
You're
what?
drilling me in, aren't you?
Absolutely drilling you in.
No, your turn.
Oh, my turn.
Your turn, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
So
Give it to him.
So I'm in an MA program at Western Seminary currently.
I went to Calvary Chapel Bible
Come
College.
on, dude. Yeah.
And then did the Veritas program, so a degree in theology with a focus in biblical studies.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Actually, not really a formal institution, but I grew up in such a rural area. There was just nothing for so far. So almost more like an apprenticeship kind of context.
Yeah.
Tiny town with tinier towns around it. So we all would kind of come to the same Lutheran church primarily when I was studying.
What kind of Lutheran church?
Again, such a small area that just Luther. There's so few people to
Generic
get in.
brand.
Yes, generic, run-of-the-mill Lutherans.
I like that.
This is another thing I find strange in the USA. So many tiny denominations of essentially the same story. So one group thinks they're more right than another group, even though they read from the same book. But they have slightly different interpretations from a book that shouldn't have interpretations. It should just be clear. It's just silly.
Immediately, I thought, well, if she's a Lutheran pastor, she would definitely say which denomination she would be.
What town did you grow up in?
Upper Michigan, actually. Very small area.
What town?
Near Marquette is kind of one of the big cities around there. But
Gotcha.
It's the one that someone would know.
Anna spoke in very general terms. I don't even think she knew the city that she came from, but she knew the city that was next to the city she came from. And at that point, I was done.
I don't think so. I live in small town USA, and that's kind of how it is. You pick somewhere folks would have heard of. I'm still sticking with my original guess, for now.
You mentioned that you didn't grow up in the church.
Right.
More of that going around?
Sure. Okay, totally.
So I've been there all my life, was baptized at 7 years old. I don't think I really became a believer until I was 30, to be perfectly honest. I did it because I was brought up, and this is what you're supposed to do.
Because indoctrination is real. That's about how 80% of the religious are, right? I don't know, I made that statistic up.
You do what they do and what they say, and you believe, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, and then I got kicked out.
And on that note, we shall. From what I knew about Lutherans, there should have been a very specific answer to that question, and that kind of threw me off.
I'm still keeping my guess as Yellow Hat and Tall Beard Guy. I should have really learned their names.
ANNA. Done.
Of course, the woman's not. Check your bias. Bye. Being the only woman in the group today was a little tricky. Obviously, not being able to always edge my way into the conversation, was not able to present it in the way that I would have liked and that I thought would have been more effective.
I feel like she wasn't an atheist, not because of anything she said, but because she was the only woman. And I don't think they'd make her the only woman in the group and one of the two atheists. But maybe that's terrible reasoning.
I walked in, and I was so happy that there was a female pastor, because they're the only types of people that are as rare as gay pastors, like myself.
Not an atheist, because they wouldn't double it up here either. Daniel, for now, is a pastor. Man, I said that confidently. I'm going to look even more stupid than usual when I get all this very, very wrong.
It's very much still new, where we're seeing queer pastors and queer worship leaders and queer Christians.
I really don't understand how anyone could be queer and a believer, since the book has verses condemning same-sex relationships.
Tell me, you got kicked out for why?
I got kicked out. Well, I got kicked out because I was in the church, and as I grew older in the church, I began to ask questions that to me were very obvious.
What was one of those questions?
Is baptism essential for salvation? You know, communion, you know, some of those, you know, battleground questions that oftentimes separate, you know, faith and denominations,
You know, a better question would be, is God real? Or how can I demonstrate God to a dirty great heathen? Without the God existing, the rest is just pointless.
I pastored high school kids for years, and I never had any of them asking me that question.
Right on, Zach. I still think you're an atheist. Have you updated your guesses recently? There's still some time to change your mind in Guess the Atheists. Yeah, that would be a terrible game show.
I want to know what everybody's ministry responsibilities are and what you're currently teaching through.
Yeah, so I'm an assistant teaching pastor, so we're replanting, revitalizing. So I'm an elder and a teaching pastor.
I serve at a small Korean church in La Mirada, California.
I don't know. Paul and what Anna said about his suit, I feel like that's just how he dresses. Greg Locke wears that kind of attire, so I really do think pastor here. But sorry, Paul, I shouldn't really have compared you to that guy.
You devil-worshipping Satanist witch!
And I take care of the youth ministry.
So I'm kind of semi-retired. I also don't have a congregation, although I work with one. It's a little Episcopal church in San Clemente. I also have a weird job that I'm chaplain to a governmental agency.
Jay answered a question about being retired, but he never indicated what he was retired from. And after years of being in ministry or serving, I thought there would have been a culmination of his life experiences, and now he's doing a part-time assistant thing. And I thought, okay, so we've slipped into some unknown factors about yourself, Jay.
I don't know. Since you're a group of pastors, I'd just assume it was that. And maybe you're looking too much into it, Don. I do think that sweet old guy is, or at least was, a pastor. But then, what do I know?
I don't pastor a church. I pastor pastors.
I walk past a store sometimes. Hey, don't judge me. At least I'm not making pastor jokes like I usually would.
So I work for a denomination, and I preach at different congregations every week.
Well, that's a great way of being non-committal to a single place, so that fewer questions get asked. I'm still sure he's one of the two.
I'm not in the pulpit right now, but I am teaching in small groups, conversations. There's a lot of dogmatic positions that are just generalized for Christendom.
So I have a question. I mean, when was the last time, you were in a hospital room with somebody, and what comfort did you give them in a time that was critical?
Oh, I hate this question.
Oh, I've done this. I didn't realise chaplains were a thing until I moved to the USA. And in 2022, I went and visited some atheists that were getting regular visits from religious chaplains. And that was triggering some PTSD. I went in and spent a while with some atheist strangers and we just talked about stuff like how to deal with religion during recovery. I think we need more of that.
I think that someone who is in pastoral ministry, it's more than just preaching and teaching. I felt a question that would get at that about how somebody gives the comfort and the peace of the presence of God would really indicate whether or not they were a pastor and they were involved in that type of ministry.
The last time I was in the hospital was not too long ago. It was, I'd actually become almost a medical proxy for a family friend's mother. She was elderly and just kind of going through, and it was very, very tender for me. But the comfort that I gave was in knowing that her family was nearby and knowing that beyond this moment, when she stepped out of time into eternity, she would be in the place she longed to be.
Now, I understand that it's comforting to think about being with loved ones after death. I get it, I really do. But I just can't get past the going in and telling people that things will be better and kind of give up on the fight for living because something that hasn't been demonstrated awaits you. That to me is just kind of gross.
I've only had to do it once, and it was very recent, and I hated it with every fiber of my being because it was for somebody that, like, I loved. And it was a lot of waiting and quiet and, like, very, very soft prayers and just kind of being there. And I'm shaking. I hated it.
You hated being there when someone needed comfort? Wait, what?
The thing that I thought I spotted was that he was just trying too hard.
The way that he was answering the questions was very old school.
I'm still sticking with Zach and Dominic, and I've asked for confirmation by asking the one true rainbow deity, Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leave be upon her, who also really doesn't have a clue. Would you have voted Don?
Do y'all know Jesus?
Sorry. Sorry, dude.
I see what's happening. First the woman, then the black man, the gay is next. I see what's happening.
What the devil? Me? I question everybody else left up there. Do they know Jesus? 'Cause I know it.
Do you, though? Since he apparently died and then rose from the dead and hasn't been seen since, where did he go? I feel like you know Jesus like I know Spider-Man.
If you think the mole is still in the box and you want to continue playing the game, please raise your hand.
So let's start with the question of what does atheism mean to you?
I talk to my kids a lot about agnosticism.
Yeah.
Great. Agnosticism. The thing that people use as a stepping stone between theism and atheism, when actually agnosticism is about knowing or not knowing. Technically, everyone's agnostic. When will folks move away from using it in the incorrect way?
More than I talk about atheism, just, because of the oversimplification of, like, as an atheist, I don't believe in God. Well, it's like, well, what is God?
I go back to, like, what Augustine the Hippo said, right? Like, all hearts are restless until they find rest in God. An atheist is not the enemy. It's not just because you don't believe in the God that I love and serve. Right. Doesn't mean you're the enemy. It means that you're restless in your heart and you're trying to search for meaning and belonging in anything other than God.
A man speaking from experience, maybe?
I'd be curious to know anybody on the stage that did not have a real serious questioning time.
You start.
Yeah, go for it.
You are very quiet, and that's just a little sus to me.
What was the question?
You are the best dressed.
What brought you out of it?
I'm a little overdressed today. So the question was, have I ever wrestled with faith? To be honest, I wrestled more with my calling, more than my faith. My faith, once I had an experience, an encounter with God out of drug addiction, my faith was pretty solid. But with the calling, I think I wrestled countless amount of times. In high school, my parents decided to split, and that's when I really went on a frenzy with drug addiction. I struggled with crystal meth, from my junior year. I think that's what really put me to the pit of my life, the most rock bottom of my life, and the only way I could go is to look up.
Oh, clever. Now I'm questioning one of my choices. But really, I'm still on the side of Paul being a pastor. Religion usually preys on those in dire need, so I honestly think he did have a time where he didn't care and religion saved him. But there are other ways of recovering from addiction without having to use an undemonstrated cloud fairy as inspiration.
So I have a question. How do we feel about eschatology?
Well, we're amillennial.
You're amillennial? Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, from the atheists that I've spoken to, this is the biggest thing to shake off. I never really believed in hell, but more an afterlife that you just go to. An afterlife that wasn't governed by any wizards or gods or whatever, so I can't really sympathise with hell worry. Now I don't accept that anything happens. You just kind of aren't anymore. But this will be interesting to see.
We are in the end times.
Yeah,
We were the second
totally.
Jesus said it was
Yeah,
finished.
I have a lot more openness to the on-mill position than I did. Growing up, Calvary Chapel was like hyper-dispensational.
This is really, I'm like
Hyper-dispensational pre-mill, you know?
Because of the sensationalism.
Because of your background.
Right.
Yeah.
So on-mill, that's, okay, it's cool.
You know, I don't expect the end time anytime soon.
What kind of a pastor isn't prepared for the end time? Can I change my mind now? Maybe they threw in the older guy to be like, no older guy's going to be an atheist. Okay, my atheidar is twitching towards Zach and Jay now, darn it.
I sensed maybe a little bit of woundedness that he was putting forth, and wondering if maybe that was part of what he was using as a mask there.
I won't lie to you, Jay looked super familiar, and I was banking on him being a paid actor that I had seen in something before.
There was a tie. The tie is between Jay and Daniel.
Oh, great! That's the most atheist behaviour ever. And now it's Daniel and Jay. Also, I wonder if both atheists know there's another atheist there.
I will give you each on the clock 30 seconds to state your case.
You know, I don't know what to say except that I think I should have not voted for the redo. Other than that, you know, went to seminary 85 to 88, MDiv, Episcopal priest for 35 years. I thought what was going to do me in is I'm really liberal, and you guys just killed me on that. So that's basically it.
I know what to say. I am a pastor. Please don't vote me out. It's as simple as that. I know that I've been ordained for a bit, and I'm in this like new congregation I'm really excited about. And the reason that I actually came was because I heard that there was some cash, and I was like, I really want to take the kids on like a cool trip, and so I really want to like split some of this cash for the kids in the youth group. So that's why I'm here, and I don't want to get voted out. Also, don't be homophobic in June.
I didn't want this to be that I go and think that all of them at one point are atheist, but I actually feel like they nailed it now, and I'm going to look so stupid when the two I originally thought were atheist actually are atheist now. But Jay not saying he was a pastor was weird, and then Daniel oversold it, trying too hard. Oh, why did I decide to do this?
I definitely saw the heart in Jay, and I felt like Daniel was more of a presentation.
I told you.
Wow.
Called it.
If the lights turn green, that means the mole is out and you win. If the lights turn red, that means the mole is still in the box and you lose. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Nice. Good job, guys.
Okay, well, I guess Daniel was one, so I was halfway there, maybe. Does that mean Don was the other one?
The moles, please reveal themselves. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Well, I guess never rely on me to see if I can spot an atheist.
But I'm going to pray against the rest
Oh,
of
yeah. Hey, my apologies, man.
Absolutely.
My apologies.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pray against the rest of you? Wow, what a threat. I'm going to say some words out loud to a being that hasn't been demonstrated to exist. I hope you're scared. And as for the atheists, run! It's 5 against 2.
And Calvary Chapel, all of that was real?
I do have a degree in theology from Calvary Chapel Bible.
Got it.
A big part of it was a personal desire for knowledge and understanding of my own existence. So that was really what drove the course. And I wanted to feel like I was doing everything I could to get those answers.
So I have actually worked in the church for about 8 years total as a pianist and organist on and off. So I had a lot to draw from.
Here's what got me as a Lutheran.
I know what
there
it
are
is.
no general Lutherans.
Yes. Yes. That got me.
Well, no, that really is the thing, though. I'm from such a loosely populated area that really is the case. Is there's so little that even brings people together. There's a lot of churches that are people who are strongly Catholic, strongly Lutheran, that will all be in the same place because like a whole town will be like a gas station, a corner store, and 10 houses.
So we are very much in a turning point in the community when it comes to queer individuals in Christianity. Even though I do not subscribe to Christianity, it's great to see at least a portion of this community that has such a large history of having a negative agenda towards us as a community, opening up their eyes, admitting their wrongs, apologizing and seeking reconciliation.
I'm in complete agreement, but there's still a lot of work to be done to be accepted as an atheist in a predominantly Christian country. This week, I have to go on probation at my place of work because I'm a non-believer. Isn't that ridiculous?
And I think that it can only, get better so long as they continue to move on that track.
Pastors actually think a little bit more deeply about people and their condition of their soul. And I really hope that those who view this would actually seek out that type of spiritual direction as well.
What does that mean? Soul and spiritual direction? What now? So, it turns out I'm absolutely shit at spotting other atheists, and so you should never really rely on me to help out with that. I'd say 1 in 4 isn't that bad, really. I like these kinds of videos. They should definitely get me on one, since I'm in the States now. How did you do? Did you really spot the atheists straight away, or did you fail, just like me? Let me know in the section below. I'm going to skeptic this as me needing to get my atheist radar fixed. A big thank you to this month's top-level ticks on Patreon. George, Godless Granny, Addy Rockhart, The Enixes, Jakari, Elizabeth, Whiskey Tech Fred, Rick and Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.